Good evening and welcome. We are so pleased that you have made the decision to join us tonight for our community update to incoming students and their supporters. Welcome. I do hope that that our time together allows you the opportunity to ask some of your important questions and hear from key leaders from across Dalhousie University. Dalhousie has 3 campuses in the heart of Halifax, as well as our agricultural campus in Truro, Nova Scotia. Dalhousie before we begin today, I just wanted to acknowledge that Dalhousie sits on the unceded and ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people in the land of Mi'kma'ki, and we are all treaty people at Dalhousie. We do hope that through our conversation today, that you know that we are so very excited that you're joining Dalhousie University. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to Dalhousie University President, Dr. Deep Sani.
Thank you, Kristen, and good evening from Halifax to everybody else. I just want to start by saying a few words about the acknowledgement of land that you heard from Kristen. For those of you who are not from within Canada, we have a tradition here of acknowledging the claim and the history of our First Nations people on whose land our university and our city are located. That's the Mi'kmaq people. And this is part of the rich tradition at Dalhousie to respect the diversity and the history from which that diversity comes. Now let me switch to our incoming students and supporters. Thank you for joining us today. You are with us from across Canada and from around the world, and it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to Dalhousie and to Halifax. Let me also indulge in a bit of a mea culpa right at the beginning. I have some other commitments, so I will not be able to stay for the entire question and answer period. I will be here for some of it, but not all of it. But I do know that there are a number of very well-informed colleagues, most of them better informed than I am, who are there to answer your questions and who will give you all the information you need. Before I leave, I felt that it was very important for me to drop in virtually at least and reinforce that you have made an excellent decision in choosing Dalhousie. As you choose Dalhousie, we also recognize that in addition to all the regular anxieties that come with transitioning to a university, you are navigating the uncertainties of a first semester that's coming your way, which is significantly altered by COVID-19 pandemic. That is why we are doing everything we can to help you with this significant transition. As you prepare for this next stage of your journey, and as you prepare to begin your fall term classes online, please rest assured that we will continue the high quality instruction and programming delivered by our outstanding faculty and staff that you have come to associate with Dalhousie, and that is, I know, a major part of the reason why you have chosen to come to Dalhousie. Another thing I want to point out is that many of you may not know that, like you, I am also relatively new to Dalhousie and Nova Scotia. I joined Dalhousie in January this year, and I arrived here from University of Canberra in Australia. So I am relatively new here, have spent here only 7 months here so far. But over that short period, I have learned enough about the university and about the city of Halifax and the province of Nova Scotia to tell you that you will find this beautiful part of Canada and the world as warm and as welcoming as I have and my wife has, who is here with me. Your safety and your well-being are the most important elements in our decision-making and in everything we do for our students. And while we are excited to welcome you here in person as soon as we are able to do so, in the meantime, we remain fully committed to your success at Dalhousie. I know that 2020 has been extremely challenging, but I want you to know that we are highly appreciative of the achievements that have brought you here, and I want to congratulate you on those achievements. You have so much to be proud of already, and now you are joining a university community committed to excellence and impact within and outside the classroom. You are going to love your experience at this amazing university. I truly cannot wait to see what kind of exciting things you're going to do and achieve when you are on this campus and when you're studying with us even online. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity of meeting each and every one of you in person, and hopefully at some point in your stay with us. I walk a lot on the campus. I live just across the street from one of the major campuses here in Halifax, the Studley campus. So the likelihood that I will run into you is very high, and I'm looking forward to saying that hello to you. But in the meantime, let me say welcome again. Thank you for listening to me, and all the best for your studies and your life experiences here with us at Dalhousie. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sani. Before we get started, I'd like to say that we're so delighted you're with us. We see all the locations that you're denoting in the chat bar there, from across the province to across the country to around the world. So thank you so much for making the time to be with us. My name is Kristen Sutherland. I'm the Director of Recruitment and Undergraduate Admissions. And we have a lineup tonight of very accomplished panelists who are here to really tune in with you, engage with you, and answer your important questions. As Dr. Sani advised, this is a fall intake, or a September unlike any other in Dalhousie's 200-year history. So I would like to introduce you to our Vice President Academic, our Provost, Dr. Frank Harvey, as he can provide some key updates as to the academic plans for fall 2020.
Thanks very much, Kristen. As Kristen noted, my name is Frank Harvey. I am the Acting Provost and Vice President Academic of Dalhousie University. Prior to taking on the role of Acting Provost, I was the Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences here at Dal, and prior to that, I was the Chair of the Department of Political Science. And prior to taking on the chair role, I was a professor of international relations in the Department of Political Science. So unlike Dr. Sani's 7 months at Dalhousie, I've been here for a little over 28 years. So I know the university very well, and I know the leaders very well. One of the things I do as acting provost and VPA is that, well, I'm responsible for a lot of different things, but most importantly, I work with the deans and the vice presidents, the vice provosts, the associate VPs on the suite of academic programs that we offer here at Dalhousie and across all of our campuses: Studley campus, the Carleton campus, Sexton, the agricultural campus in Truro. And among my many tasks, most recently, I've been working with the senior leaders, the deans and the VPs on our return to campus plans for the fall, and soon we'll be moving into planning for the winter. So let me start by saying that we certainly understand what many of you have gone through as you completed your high school degree in the midst of the COVID pandemic, what your schools have been going through, what your teachers have been trying to do to get you through this crisis. And we also understand that you and your families have faced considerable challenges and uncertainty over the last several months. But I also want to say that you've made the right choice. This is one of the most important investments you can make in your future, particularly at a time when your future feels so uncertain and in many cases almost disorienting. But I can assure you that our faculty, our staff, our academic leaders have been investing an enormous amount of time, about 4 months now, planning and preparing for your fall term to help make this experience as positive as possible and much less disorienting. Dal is committed to providing an academic experience in the fall that remains meaningful, that remains student focused, and above all else, safely delivered. So let me tell you a bit about what we've been doing to prepare for your programming in the fall. And I want to start by going through a few basic principles that we've been following as we try to plan for our fall program. Principle number 1, student, faculty, and staff health and safety. It's a core priority of the university. We continue to collaborate very closely with the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Robert Strang, and the Nova Scotia public health leaders. We have been focusing on enhanced cleaning operations, physical distancing protocols, self-isolation procedures. So we've been focused on health and safety as our number 1 priority. Principle number 2, providing both new from high school and returning students with an early and clear vision of what we will be offering in the fall. This was one of the central reasons why Dalhousie announced in May, a few months ago, the move to go online in the fall. So we have about 1,000 students who will be completing their advanced accredited programs face-to-face. These are essential for degrees in health and medicine and dentistry and in fact in veterinary technology programs at the Ag campus in Truro. We also have about 750 to 800 students returning into residence, about 1/3 of our capacity. But as we pointed out in May when we made the decision, all of our other programs for the fall will be delivered online. Principle number 3, ensure that our faculty had sufficient time to prepare for the fall term, as I said, around 4 months, because what we wanted was to give faculty sufficient time to prepare for online delivery and to deliver the highest quality academic program that you deserve. And number 4, our 4th principle was to focus on the student experience and on community and cohort development. And Vice Provost Ivan Joseph and his team will be walking you through some of the initiatives that they have in play with respect to that experience. And all of this has been supported with considerable university investment through Dalhousie Libraries, through academic technology services, through the Center for Learning and Teaching, and through strategic initiative funding. So from April, I want to just work my way through a few statistics just to give you a sense of the numbers, but also the motivation and incentive among our instructors and professors to really prepare for fall programming. The Center for Learning and Teaching hosted 25 webinars and workshops for the Dal community between April and July. We had about 3,800 registrants. These are profs preparing for online instruction in the fall. Those numbers don't include specific faculty training sessions with our academic technology services and our Dal libraries, and it doesn't include the special faculty visits by the ATS team for one-on-one and group instruction. And in addition to those efforts, we've just completed the distribution of strategic initiative funding of close to around $2 million to support faculties, instructors, and students with access to equipment, hardware, software that they will need for online instruction. So we're working very hard to get ready for delivering the education and programming you deserve, consistent with Dalhousie's reputation as one of the leading top-tier universities in this country. Students studying at Dalhousie also have access, as many of you know, to unique funding opportunities through the provincial government, including the Nova Scotia Bursary Program, Nova Scotia Student Loan Forgiveness Program, and the Nova Scotia Upfront Grant. In addition to those financial supports, Dalhousie is also committed to providing financial aid and direct bursaries to students in need as we work together through the realities of this pandemic. So we will continue to provide updates on how plans are unfolding. You should expect to get messages from the university, as health and safety guidelines and protocols shift, hopefully in the positive direction. You should expect to get messages from Student Affairs and Dalhousie Student Union about orientation and other events and activities. You'll be getting messages from your faculties on specific programs and courses tied to your degree. And you should expect to get updates from the Return to Campus Committee as events and as conditions change and modify. So we know that you have lots of questions. All your questions are obviously important. I want to thank Vice Provost Ivan Joseph and his team and the team in the Registrar's Office for the invitation to join you today. I want to thank you for choosing Dalhousie. And now I'll turn it over to Kristen to introduce Dr. Ivan Joseph, the Vice Provost of Student Affairs. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dr. Harvey. I really appreciate you painting that overview of what the academic semester will look like in the fall. I know that there are considerable questions around the modifications and investments that Dalhousie has made in the students' academic success. I'd like to next introduce to you Madeleine Stinson. She's the Dalhousie Student Union President, and she will bring a few words as your president.
Hi everyone, as was said, I'm Maddie, the Dalhousie Student Union President. I'm also a student at Dalhousie with the Rose School of Business, College of Sustainability, and Department of Political Science. So I'm so glad to be here tonight and have the chance to hear from you all. First of all, congratulations on joining Dalhousie Community. This year is going to be different and unique, but it's also the first step on a very rewarding and very valuable life experience. So on behalf of the DSU, my fellow executives, welcome to our community. We're extremely excited to meet you all and support you through your journey here, especially your first year. And I know you all probably have a lot of questions. Please know that you're not alone in those questions. I can remember back to my first year, me and my mom sat in the living room for many hours trying to figure out what my move from Ontario to here would look like. So just know everything you're thinking is nothing different than students before, with the exception of our new circumstances for this year. So you're not alone in that. If you're wondering what the DSU is, we're the collective voice of students on campus. So we support students by listening to their thoughts and concerns, amplifying those to our administration, to the local government. We also support societies on campus and orientation, which this year is going to be a blended model between online and in-person activities. So everyone will be included regardless of if you're in residence, living in the HRM but off campus, or learning from somewhere else this year. We also operate student services like the DSU Food Bank, our Survivor Support Center, and the DSU Health Plan Office. So if you have any questions about what it's like to be a student at Dal, if you need help navigating services, or if you just wanted to talk to someone who knows what it's like to be where you are right now, you can contact us at the DSU. You can contact myself, any of my fellow executives, or any of our part or full-time staff, and we are more than happy to speak with you and help you with whatever you need. With that, I want to wish you all luck in your first year. Please remember that the DSU is here to support you in everything that you need to do, and that I'm confident you're about to join the best student community I've ever had the pleasure to be a part of. And I know that you all make great additions to that community. So I'm so excited to welcome you onto campus. Thank you, and I'll turn it back to Kristen.
Thank you, Maddie. I really do feel as though we are so excited to see how Dalhousie will transform you through your student experience, but also how you will transform Dalhousie. So I echo Maddie's comments of congratulations. The transition to university is exciting, but there are a lot of questions along the way. So to bring us an idea of what Dalhousie's community will be like this fall, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Ivan Joseph. Inclusivity and connectivity is fundamental to Dalhousie student experience. We're proud of the inclusive community on our campuses and through our remote learning environments that works to make everyone feel welcome, comfortable, and safe. We want to ensure that you're able to find the resources and support services you need that are tailored to your specific circumstances. I'd like Dr. Ivan Joseph, who is our Vice Provost Student Affairs, to provide us some insight as to what that will look like this fall at Dalhousie University.
Thank you, Kristen. Thanks for having me. I'm the last, folks, I'm the last person between you and the group of questions that you all want to answer. So I'll try and make my remarks quick. As the Vice Provost, everybody wants to know what the Vice Provost of Student Affairs is, what that job is, and really I help complement the academic experience by leading a great team that's responsible for many of what we call the co-curricular experiences around campus. whether that's being the tutoring or the writing center, the student life pieces, what happens in the international office, the registrar's area. So lots of those things that help your academic success come through the student affairs portfolio. And as many of you said, we are looking forward to having you on campus, and we care about your health and your well-being. And we're glad that you chose Dalhousie. One of the things about Halifax, besides just how beautiful it is that they've done a great job, all of the Atlantic region, in fact, of protecting us from the coronavirus. Currently, as we stand today, there are no cases of coronavirus in Nova Scotia. It's a very safe place. But we've all played a role in getting us here, and we'll all, as a community, will continue to play a role in that. When you come this fall, those of you who are coming into campus, and Frank mentioned these numbers, we're going to have about 2,300 students here on campus between all our various programs, and about 700 or 800 on campus. If you're coming from outside of the Atlantic region, then you're going to have a responsibility to self-isolate. And Jeff Wilson, our Director of Residence Life, will give you some more details about what that self-isolation looks like. But that date of move-in for those of you who are outside of the Atlantic region is going to be August 22nd. All right, so on August 22nd, you can expect there will be provisions that will allow you to move into campus. On September 2nd to the 5th, I hope, is anybody hearing that dog? Because I don't know whose dog it is. But from September 2nd to the 5th, you'll have the opportunity, if you are from inside the Atlantic region, to move into residence halls. And so we'll stagger that approach so that you have the ability to decide how to just move in a safe and a comfortable manner. One of the things I want you to know is when you're coming onto campus this fall, we will deliver both virtual and face-to-face programming. And it's important to note that, we've got students that are on campus, we've got students that are in the Halifax community as well. And so we're going to try and deliver all those types of programs to everybody, whether that's a virtual orientation program, as our student union president spoke about, or a physical orientation program to some of our students. We will try to deliver all of those programs. We also have an amazing program called Together at Dal. Together at Dal is a virtual community program that's meant to deliver this services to all our students. Do you notice how good my focus is here? Because I got a dog yapping in my ear, which I do not know how to get rid of. But anyway, we'll keep going. Welcome to Life Virtually. Together at Dal is a virtual program where we've divided our community, our students, into groups of 20. These groups of 20 will be paired with an upper class mentor, a senior advisor, that will connect those students to their individual faculties as a way to get them connected to their faculty, make friends, help them navigate the systems and processes that they will need to succeed in a virtual campus community. It's a great way to make sure that students are connected and feel like they belong. How do you make friends? How do you join clubs virtually? All of these things can be accomplished through your Together at Dal program. And so we hope that if you haven't had a chance to join, that you sign up as soon as you can. You can go to the Student Affairs website, and there's a link for that as well. One of the things I want everybody to know and realize is that when you're navigating through a virtual campus community and a physical campus community, you have to put yourself out there. So there's no bad question. Make sure today you take the time and the opportunity to get your questions answered. If we run out of time, we will follow up and make sure that we get back to you in all the ways we can. I know there's a lot going on. Like many of you, we are excited to be joining us together this fall. I want you to know that we have record enrollments here at Dal. And that's a testament that many people see the excitement and the enthusiasm of what Dal has to offer. And we look forward to welcoming you here together. Thanks, Kristen. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. I really appreciate you painting that picture of the Dalhousie experience for fall 2020. I do see the questions rolling in, so I'm really excited, and I think we're going to have an engaging conversation today. Dr. Harvey, I have a question here actually in the area of plant science. That's my husband's area of study from Dalhousie University, plant science. So I'll start with Kat. Her question reads that that they are concerned that they're not going to get as good a hands-on learning experience at home as they would using the facilities and technology available at the agricultural campus. Perhaps you can speak to some of the academic plans for that facility.
Great question, Kat. What I would prefer to do is transfer your question over to the Dean of the Ag Campus, Dr. David Gray. The Ag Campus is, the agricultural campus is located in Truro. Although I have a pretty clear sense of what's been going on in the three Halifax-based campuses, I do know that they have been working their way through the same sorts of preparations for online delivery at the Ag Campus, leaving aside the accredited programming tied to the Vet Tech program. But I suspect you would get a much more detailed answers to some of the strategic initiatives that they've requested funding for to support students and faculty to deliver the programming. But more specific answers to your questions around plant science, I'm going to defer to David for that. But what we will do is follow up with you, send David that question, and you can get a more fulsome answer to those issues. I hope that's okay for now.
That's excellent, actually. And just to let you know, we will be following up with all questions that are asked tonight to ensure that you have the specific information that you require. We do have several team members within recruitment and admissions who are also located on the agricultural campus. So I see that Allison has provided Dr. Gray's email address, but we will certainly follow up with you to ensure that you have those specific questions pertaining to plant science. I wanted to call upon Jeff Wilson, Director of Residence Life, to talk about some of the guidelines pertaining to when students can and should arrive for residence, what self-isolation looks like, and the basics for how that will work. Given that we are working upon the best information we have now from Nova Scotia Health Authority, and that information could change depending on if restrictions are lifted.
Thanks, Kristen. I'm sure there are quite a few students with questions about isolation and residence. I have prepared a couple points about isolation, move-in days, and what it's going to feel like in residence. So isolation, as Ivan mentioned, begins on August 22nd. That's when students will be allowed to arrive. Move into the fall rooms takes place during assigned time slots between September 2nd and 5th. Some information about what self-isolation is going to be like. It's not going to be your typical residence experience. So it's going to be 14 days in your residence room, leaving to use a shared washroom, wearing a mask, washing your hands as often as possible. Masks are going to be a very important part of campus life this fall. Our starting point will always be relying on the health-related protocols from public health. However, we've had to modify them for our residence context. We have supported students in isolation due to travel since March. So we have some experience helping students in isolation, and public health has been flexible with us regarding our self-isolation protocols. We're in the process of consulting with our medical officer of health in Nova Scotia for approval for students to walk around campus while they're in isolation, as long as they are practicing safe restrictions, safe practices like wearing a mask, keeping distance. So we are working on things like that. We have a team of students, professional residence life staff, and our student healthcare team. They're available to support students through one-on-one support with virtual appointments and programming. Students in self-isolation are going to be responsible for their own food choice options and having them delivered to the residence building that they're isolating in, and the food would then be brought to their door. And travel from the airport, if they're arriving by plane, if the student is arriving by plane, to the residence building is also going to be the student's responsibility. If a student is staying at home for the first semester, but joining us in Halifax or Truro in residence for the fall, for the winter in January, I recommend that you apply to residence as soon as possible so that we know that you're interested. And when we have more information about what's going to happen in January, we can send it out to you directly. If you are looking for more information on self-isolation, what residence is going to look like in the fall or in the winter, I suggest you check out our website. So if you Google or search on the internet for DAL residence self-isolation, I just did it. The first link that you get has all of our information on it. You can find out everything that I just said plus more. And if that doesn't answer your question, you can contact me at reslife@dal.ca. And I'll send it back to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Jeff, for that overview. I would like to indicate that Allison has also posted that that detailed information around self-isolation requirements within the chat. So people that have joined us this evening will be able to review those details and how that works with their specific situation. So I'm going to choose another a question here. From Jasmine Hawks, what steps have been taken to ensure that the online curriculum will be as beneficial to the students as possible? And I'd like to ask Dr. Joseph, if possible, would you be able to address that question that Jasmine has raised?
Absolutely. I'm assuming that the provost has gone away. So let me tell you that clearly that our professors are exceptional professors that are here at Dal. The university has invested, I think, well over $2 million to make sure that our curriculum and the use of technology was up to speed, to make sure that we'll say remote learning was what happened in the spring, because we had to react very quickly. And I know they spent a lot of time this summer in terms of training, in terms of developing the curriculum, in terms of adjusting the curriculum to make sure that the quality of it is at the highest standards. A lot of our professors here are world-renowned researchers, educators, and they take great pride in the work that they do. And so I know that they've been meeting, I'll say as an academic advisory council, we call it ADAC here. They've been meeting several times a week for the last 4 months to ensure that the quality and the rigor of what Dalhousie stands for and its reputation is maintained. And so I feel quite comfortable that will be maintained. If you want more information, I would suggest that we can connect you with the deans or your individual academic advisors to make sure you get that the detailed answers that you might want if there's any concerns. I know there's been a lot of concerns about the labs and how the labs would work, and I've seen some of those questions. So I'll just speak to that right now, that I know that they've invested in lots of technology and adjusted the curriculum to make sure that that practical component and that hands-on component in a virtual world can still be learned and still be modified as it moves forward. Over to you, Kristen.
Thank you very much, Dr. Joseph. I have a question here from an anonymous poster that I'll direct towards Cynthia Murphy, Director of Student Experience. And the question reads, for students living in Halifax, will there be any in-person distanced orientation activities? Will intramurals take place? Can you speak to some of the plans for student-led activities this fall?
Thank you, Kristen. I will speak to orientation and student life programming. And I know Maddie mentioned in her update from the DSU that they're planning their orientation activities as well. And we're aligned with them in that we'll have a combination of in-person on campus and online as well. And the idea is that the programming will be accessible by all, whether you're in Halifax or Truro or anywhere around the world. I think Maddie may want to contribute to the answer to this question as well. And over to you, Kristen.
Thank you. Maddie, do you have any additional comments around the orientation programming that will be in place for September?
Yeah, so registration and the setup for orientation is going to look a lot different this year than it has in past years. But like Cynthia said, we're going to do a blended schedule of programming. So some of our offerings will be on the ground in Halifax, Some will be posted online for folks to view whenever they'd like to, and some will be live sessions online. It's also important to note that students who are coming to campus this year expecting an orientation in line with past years are not going to miss out on that experience. We are going to, dependent on health regulations and as things change over the fall semester, do a larger version of our annual Frost Week, which some of you might have heard of before, but we'll be following up with our bigger programming events during January. So you won't miss out on the past year's experience, you'll just be getting it at a slightly different time this year.
Thank you very much, Maddie. I really appreciate your lens from the DSU, and I know that connectivity with students and supporting students and being the voice for students is such an essential role for the Dalhousie Student Union. I see another question here asking about the first term as well as for the class instruction for January. So I will advise, I'll take this question, and the question is there a plan to have in-class instruction in January? I would like to say that as Dr. Harvey indicated, all courses for fall 2020 for the first semester of the academic year will be offered remotely with very few exceptions, including medical school, dental school, bio-vet tech, and select courses. But the vast majority of courses will be offered remotely through online technology. As Dr. Ivan Joseph indicated, there will be programming for students and support services for students in a blended method, both in person as health protocols permit and available and accessible online to students wherever they're joining us from around the world. But no formal decision has been made yet pertaining to whether there is a plan to have in-class instruction for January. We were chatting with Dr. Sani briefly before we became live this evening, and he advised that the fall semester will really be our protocol to see how we are able to administer the academic content, but also provide a safe and secure space for students, because we are starting with very limited number of students on campus. So please expect that, as Dr. Harvey indicated, we have a vision for providing students with as much information, with as much time, with as much lead time as possible. So as soon as a decision is made pertaining to January instruction, the method of instruction, we will certainly be continuing to communicate with our incoming students and our returning students as well. But that decision has not yet been made. I hope that answers your question. We have a question here from Wyatt, and that question reads, would we at Dalhousie recommend residents of Nova Scotia stay home until September if they're able to do so, since the classes are online? Cynthia, would you like to take that question?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand the question completely. So Wyatt, you're asking if students should wait until September to come to campus, either in Truro or in Halifax. Is Kristen, is that how you understood the question?
Yes, or perhaps even past September.
Okay. Well, I think the recommendation, if your courses are all online, you're able to study from anywhere where you have a good internet connection, and that will really determine whether you decide to study online from home. As everyone has talked about this evening, the online offerings from Dalhousie will be excellent, and your academic experience will not suffer because it is online. It's your decision whether to come to Halifax or not. And as we mentioned before, supports and services will be available in person on campus in a limited way at each of the campuses, and there'll also be online supports and services for you as well. So it's a decision for you to make with your family, and if you'd like to talk to someone in Student Affairs about that decision or look for more advice, please feel free to contact us. Over to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Cynthia. I see several questions pertaining to payment, when tuition will be made available, as well as financial aid and awards. And I'd like to call upon Rebecca Kohler, our Associate Director of Student Awards and Financial Aid, to provide an overview of the supports and financial commitment being made to students this fall.
Thank you, Kristen, and thanks to all who have asked questions with regards to financial aid and tuition. I did see a couple of those questions were very specific to where to find information about what student fees are and then how to pay them. So I'll address that first and then offer some additional information. If you are already registered for your courses, then you will be able to see your fees as outlined in DAL Online very shortly. So that is likely to be towards the end of this week, or hopefully by at the latest next week. Courses at Dalhousie and fees are they are determined based on your registration. So the number of courses that you're registered in and the faculty that you're registered in. And that information will be available. The specific fees for yourself based on your registration will be available in DAL Online. If you've not yet registered, you can also look at our online fee calculator to get a general estimate of what your fees may be for the fall prior to registration. If you go to our website at dal.ca/money matters and click on tuition and fees, you can visit our fee calculator. I will mention that our fee calculator right now gives a sort of general estimate, but we are improving that calculator very currently, and within a week or two we will have an updated version of that tool, which will allow you to get a much more specific estimate of your fees, including specifics related to choices in residence, the number of courses that you'll be taking, and other fees. So that information will be available for you very shortly in DAL Online, as well as in an expanded tool on our Money Matters website. And while I have the floor, I will just provide a little bit of general information, and I'll echo Dr. Harvey's comment earlier about the fact that a university education is, of course, a very significant investment in your future, an investment in time and effort, your goals and your dreams, as well as, of course, financially. Every student at Dalhousie is coming with a unique set of financial circumstances, and our Student Awards and Financial Aid team is here to help you explore your financial options, develop strategies, and build skills to create a plan that works for you through your Dalhousie career and beyond. This year, we are providing more financial aid than ever before, recognizing the impact of COVID-19, the COVID-19 pandemic on the financial means of many of our students and their supporters. We have increased our bursary funding for domestic and international undergraduate students to allow us to better assist in light of some of those challenges that many are facing, as well as respond to the anticipated increase in the number of students who may be seeking financial support, financial need-based support. That support will be offered through our undergraduate bursary program. Students who are eligible for that program can apply every term that they are registered at Dalhousie, and the application is available through your DAL Online portal as well. The application for the fall term will be made available mid-August, and more information about eligibility and how to apply can be found on our website at dal.ca/financial aid. And lastly, I'll just mention that our awards and financial aid team consists of a number of advisors who also administer and provide students guidance on our entrance award and in-course scholarship program, as well as external scholarship options you may want to explore, and in addition to government and private student loans, grants, and bursaries that are available. We understand that you and your supporters are concerned about managing your resources and your finances successfully over the course of your degree. And so we encourage you to explore the tools that we have online at dal.ca/financial aid, as well as reach out to us directly if you have specific questions or would like to discuss your options. Also keep an eye out for opportunities to learn more about awards and financial aid during orientation. Our team will be doing a full session on awards and financial aid and managing your money. So that's something I certainly recommend you register for and attend, as well as through the program that Dr. Joseph mentioned, the Together at DAL program. The peer mentors will have additional information for you and help be in the position to help guide you towards the resources that are available at DAL with regards to finances. So I'll send that back to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Rebecca. I know that money matters pertaining to tuition, but also awards and bursaries are so critical for students to understand. So I appreciate your offer of your team being available to offer more specific guidance and advising should families like to connect with you. We have several questions here that are specific pertaining to the regulations around residents. So I'd like to call upon Heather Sutherland. She's our Assistant Vice President of Ancillary Services. And Heather, I'll read the first question for you, and then I'll follow up with some additional questions that can be directed towards you. What are the plans if there's a positive case of COVID in residence?
Thanks, Kristen. The university has been busy putting together protocol so that if someone is concerned about travel plans and first feels that they need to self-isolate, we have a process in place for the protocol, working closely with our partners in Res Life and Health Services. We have regular contact. Our Health Services Department will have regular contact with the students that are involved. Meals will be delivered to the students in that room, and if the student does test positive for COVID, then we have an additional protocol that will kick into place where we will move students to a different location and again work with our partners in health services. I wonder if Verity Turpin, who works directly with the Health Services Department, might like to add something else to that. Verity?
Thank you, Heather. We've been, and as Heather mentioned, we've been supporting students with self-isolation since March, working very closely with public health. And so if a student tests positive for COVID, they will be in a designated area in one of our residences and supported by our interprofessional collaborative healthcare team, as well as our residence team. And what is important for students and supporters to realize is that our healthcare team provides primary healthcare support as well as mental health care support, because we know it's going to be tough on any student who is in residence for that length of time, staying by themselves where they recover. It's also important to know that our public healthcare system works very collaboratively with the institution. So if, for example, there is a lot of cases of COVID in our residences, our public health partners will be coming in and supporting our institution and supporting our students. So we have a long track record of working with our government partners to ensure our students' health, safety, and well-being, which is what Dr. Joseph, Dr. Harvey has been saying. It is our primary concern, and it is our overarching principle in terms of how we're approaching our return to campus with our students in the fall. Over to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Verity. There is a follow-up question here, and the follow-up question comes from an Ottawa family. And the question reads, are families able to rent apartments within Nova Scotia to complete the 14-day isolation process and then deliver the student within the September 2nd to 5th period to residence? And what proof of self-isolation is needed for the student to enter residence if out of province?
Thank you.
Would like, Verity, would you like to start, and then maybe we'll go back to Heather as well?
Absolutely. We've been getting quite a few questions about self-isolation opportunities or options off campus. And there are many hotels. I would recommend investigating hotel options because many hotels are looking at renting really good rates, daily rates for the 14-day isolation period, including meal packages, because of course, when you're self-isolating, you can't leave the hotel or you can't leave your room. So them delivering food and having food packages to your room is very advantageous for your family or your student. I wouldn't recommend renting apartments because usually apartment rentals in Halifax are done on an annual basis. We have a fairly competitive market in Halifax, so the likelihood that families would be able to locate a short-term rental for particularly a 2-week process, a 2-week period, would be small, unless you're thinking about wrapping that into a vacation in an isolated cottage on the ocean and making the best of an awkward situation with self-isolation and staying by the ocean with your family for 2 weeks. That option also works. Heather, did you want to take the latter part of the question?
Thank you, Verity. Students have received a registration form for residents, and that's asking students what their plans are. So if they are hoping to come and stay with us during the 14-day isolation period, or if they have other plans in Atlantic Canada. And so we ask for that information, and then we are compiling that information. So we're able to know where our students have been able to self-isolate. Back to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Heather. I think the next question is actually back to you, Heather. Sorry, we're like it's a tag team here. But the next question is pertaining to textbooks. And will they be available online like an ebook format, or will we be ordering physical books ahead of time to allow for shipping? Perhaps you could address that from the lens of the bookstore.
Certainly, thank you. That's a great question. And so just a couple of different ideas to share with you. Our online store is open. Our faculty members actually choose what device, whether it's going to be a print material, whether it's going to be digital, or whether it's going to be blended. So we will be making those arrangements with the different faculty member. And we also have used and rental books there as well. So we have a variety of different ways that people can buy their texts. For the students who are living in residence, we have a great program called Books in Res, where students are able to order their texts or DAL gear or different home items that they might want for the residents, and those will actually be delivered to your residence room. They'll be waiting for you when you arrive. We do have an online store where you can place your order and we'll send the information out to you directly, or you can take advantage of our curbside pickup, whether that's going to be by actually driving up in a curb or in a car, or closer to when we join, everyone comes together on campus in September, we will have in-person curbside pickup as well. So there's a variety of different sources, and please feel free to contact our bookstore if you have any particular questions. Back to you, Kristen.
Thank you very much. We have another question that's pertaining to libraries, and if libraries will be open on both the Halifax and agricultural campus for students who will want to access library spaces in September. Ivan, would you like to talk about the opportunity for students to access services on campus?
Yes, thank you, Kristen. Yes, libraries will be open on campus. Again, we're waiting for the public health directives to say just what that capacity is. Right now, we can have up to 50 people in each of our libraries, and it's by appointment and check-in right now. As the school year opens up and as public health advises, some of those, I'll say, restrictions may lift, and we might be able to increase that number of folks that are going to be available in our various libraries. We have several libraries across our many campuses. Not only will our libraries be open, but also we will be delivering some of our services both virtually and physically on campus, whether that be the academic advising, the Black Student Center, the Indigenous Student Center, our International Center. I saw a question about Dalplex. Is the gym open? And again, the gym is open. It will be open by appointment. So we will try to do our best to deliver those services for those students who are in our community and in our residence in some capacity, both physically as well as virtually. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. There are several questions here that are asking what Dalhousie's position will be should the provincial borders open and there no longer be an isolation period or an Atlantic bubble required for Canadian students, and what Dalhousie will put into place should that come to fruition. Will there still be a need for students, Canadian students from outside of Atlantic Canada? Will they be required to self-isolate? I wanted to advise that the information we're providing tonight is based on the here and now, and knowing that even the decisions we were making several months ago have changed based on public health protocol. But I'd like to ask Verity Turpin, as she is involved heavily with the return to campus plan, if she can comment on those questions pertaining to changes expected from the public health announcements.
Thank you, Kristen. These are great questions. And because you're all of you are probably hearing public health directives very often throughout these questions and answers, and it's because they're constantly changing, and we work so closely with our public health partners. We also saw some questions about, hey, there's no COVID in Nova Scotia, so why the heck do we have to do self-isolation? Well, in Nova Scotia and the Atlantic provinces, public health and our provinces, our premiers, just agreed that we were going to form the Atlantic bubble, which meant that we do not have to self-isolate as we travel among the Atlantic provinces. So that just happened a couple of weeks ago, actually, in our area of the country. And so if Canada, or if public health, and if our governments decide to extend that Atlantic bubble to the rest of Canada, logic would tell us that we would not have to self-isolate prior to traveling to other provinces across Canada, which would mean that students don't have to self-isolate when coming from Ottawa, Toronto, Ontario, Alberta, BC. So that requirement of that 2-week period that Dr. Joseph, Heather Sutherland, Jeff Wilson have been talking about starting in August 22nd won't be required. That means that our housing team and our residence office will be talking to you specifically about a check-in date in those first dates in September, and those are the dates that you'll be required and you'll be able to move into your residence room. So what does that mean in terms of making travel plans? And I know this has come up before, and understandably so. So what it means is if you're making your travel plans to come for self-isolation for August 22nd, and the Canadian government and our Atlantic provinces in partnership change the restrictions for travel, it means that you do not have to self-isolate, which means that you would be arriving into residence during your check-in time versus August 22nd. So we're asking in our residence communication to students, because we know that that is a chance, that is an opportunity that we still hope will happen, that when you make your travel plans to come to Halifax for the fall, if you're making them to include self-isolation, you're flexible in those plans because they may actually change and you may not have to spend 2 weeks in self-isolation. But we really can't tell or predict when our government officials will be making that decision. And we, as a Dalhousie community, are really dependent on our government to make those decisions. But please know we're working with them on a daily basis to try and consult with them and to get that information as quickly as possible so we can share that with all of you. Over to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Verity. It is an ever-changing scenario here with COVID-19, but we will ensure that this is not the only conversation and that we will be communicative and transparent with you as we receive updated information. So I would encourage you to continually monitor your dal.ca email address, to pay attention to the announcements through the Together at Dal program, as well as to our social media sites, Instagram and Facebook, so that you have all the up-to-date information as it becomes available. But we will continually update you and your families as if there are any changes to that scenario. I do have a quick question for Cynthia Murphy, and this is pertaining to international students and their need to self-isolate when coming to Canada. If you could speak about the travel restrictions currently that the government of Canada has in place and how that will impact international students.
The ability of international students, or thank you, Kristen. The ability of international students to come to Canada depends on a few things. One of them being when the study permit and visa were issued. That date will determine whether or not you'll be able to have an exemption to come into the country. Also, you would need to prove that your travel to Canada is essential, and that can be supported by the university. And not having great access to internet connectivity in your home can be deemed as essential for coming to Canada. So with so many variables around it, and with the situation changing on a regular basis, we're recommending that any international student who plans to come to Canada to be here in the fall to study online or in some in-person programs here at Dalhousie, that you contact the International Centre, and an advisor can walk you through the process and ensure that you have the proper documentation to come to Canada. And so we'd be happy to, I can put the email address for the International Centre in the chat so that students can contact us. And we look forward to seeing you virtually or in person in the fall. Thank you. Over to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Cynthia. I know that your team is fielding questions on a regular basis, and that the International Student Centre website does have a very detailed IRCC update space that students can monitor for updates. I would like to ask Jeff Wilson from Residence Life. There is multiple questions here pertaining to exact move-in dates between September 2nd and 5th. And there seems to be a need to clarify that process for students. Would you be able to speak to that, Jeff?
Yes, I can. Thanks, Kristen. It might be a better question for Heather, so if we need to tag team it, we will.
Sure.
My understanding is that all students who have accepted their residence offer, paid their deposit, will be assigned a time between September 2nd and 5th. And then that will be sent to them via email. If that hasn't happened for the individuals who are asking the question, and they've gone through all of those steps, so they've applied, they've been sent a room, they've accepted the room, and they've paid their deposit, and they haven't received their move-in day, it is coming, I promise. And if Heather has anything to add to that, please, I welcome her to. Back to you, Kristen.
Thanks, Jeff. I just would add a couple of points. We actually will be sending something out, hopefully by the end of the week, where we will have detailed and move-in instructions. And actually, we will be providing an opportunity for people to sign up for times for when they would like to move in. So we'll do our best to work with everyone to get an assigned time that works with them. And I encourage you to be watching your DAL email with more information, because those details are coming your way. Back to you, Kristen.
Thank you. We do have several questions here around the potential for students to be able to meet, to form peer-based study groups that meet in person, or to connect in person real life with professors or TAs. Dr. Joseph, would you like to address that opportunity for students to connect in person on our campus?
Absolutely, Kristen. Nothing is going to limit students from being able to gather on campus unless it's a group bigger than 50 from the public health domain. And so we know that a big part of studying is about connecting and finding ways to gather together. And so I would say use many of the platforms that are available. If you're an incoming student, we've got the Facebook platform. But a big part of being able to connect and gather in study groups is Together at Dal. That's exactly what that program is designed to do, because you're already together in your cohort groups there. The faculty are connecting with you. You're going to learn how to manage your syllabus. You're going to learn from that program how to study for university. You're going to learn how to be connected and work with different resources that you have on campus. There was somebody that said they were a transfer student in one of the questions, and how do they meet people? That entire program is meant to do just that, connect people virtually. And from that virtual connection, you can then move to being able to connect physically. But also, we are still going to have physical programs on campus. We are still going to be running meet and greet and social connection opportunities and programs if you're in our residence halls or if you're living in Halifax. And those are opportunities for students to get together and to connect. So rest assured that just because our classes are online does not mean that we are going to just making sure that we will not be delivering any face-to-face and physical programming. Connecting to people and getting a sense of belonging is an important aspect of what we do at Student Affairs, and we believe that's a big part of your success as well. Over to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. I see a few new questions coming in, so I think we'll take 2 to 3 more questions this evening. Verity, as you were speaking about the health protocols, I'm wondering if you could address a question pertaining to, can a COVID test replace self-isolation first? And then second, whether self-isolation would be required if students go home for Thanksgiving or Christmas break?
So thank you. So first, would a COVID test replace self-isolation? So currently, we do not, our province and public health does not allow for us to do testing as students are coming in to replace self-isolation. So in order for Dalhousie to be able to do that, it would mean that our province and our public health authority would be able to operationalize that and test everyone as they came into the province and became into the Atlantic bubble or had a test result that would prove that. Currently, that's not where our Atlantic provinces are, unfortunately, because I know that a quick test would probably be a lot more convenient, well, not probably, a lot more convenient than a 2-week self-isolation process. I think that, as Kristen, as you've said, this is a changing landscape, and at any time our governments will be able to have, and they will continue to change our landscape when it comes to how we're responding to the health and safety concerns of our community. So I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. Do I think it's going to happen before September? No, I do not, because it's not something that I'm hearing about from a student health and wellness lens as I'm consulting with our public health officials. And Kristen, can you just remind me of the second question just to make sure I answer it?
It was pertaining to fall reading week, Thanksgiving break, or Christmas break, and would self-isolation be required upon return from those breaks on campus?
Thank you. So that depends on what the bubble is. So right now in Atlantic Canada, you can move throughout the Atlantic Canadian provinces without self-isolating. But if you go home to Ontario, for example, on Thanksgiving, and we still only have the Atlantic bubble, you would be required to self-isolate when you returned. So the good news is that we will, as we're offering pre-arrival self-isolation support to students, for students and residents during the academic year, we will also continue to provide self-isolation support for students who are living in residence due to travel as well as illness. And so if you choose to go home and visit your families and have some close time with your friends and supporters, we encourage you to do that, and we will support your self-isolation when you come back. But another important point to know is that when you self-isolate, you will not be self-isolating in your normal residence room. You will actually be self-isolating in a different residence in a designated area. And so it may be a bit inconvenient for you when you come back to take a bag with two weeks worth of clothes, your computer, and everything you need to be successful in your classes to another residence room and stay there for 2 weeks. Another thing to consider is that you will be making all kinds of friends and have all kinds of relationships with your colleagues in your residence area, but you'll be able to still stay connected with technology and virtually through all the different virtual programs and ways we have designed for students to stay connected. So there's pros and cons to that, but we've thought of that. We're ready to support you in any decision you make. Over to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Verity. I see a question here. What is the cost of self-isolation in residence per day? And my understanding is that it's $150 for the 14 days to self-isolate in residence. So I will answer that one promptly. But the next question will be directed towards Jeff Wilson, Residence Life. So he could clarify that if my $150 for the 14-day self-isolation figure is wrong. But the question that's being asked is, when students are moving into residence, what is the proof of self-isolation that Residence Life will require? Could you please clarify that for us, Jeff?
Thanks, Kristen. You are correct. It is $150 for the 14 days to stay in residence. As I mentioned earlier, cost for transport from the airport, if that's how you're arriving, and food costs would be the responsibility of each individual student. The question about, sorry, I'm
proof
blank.
of self-isolation.
Proof of self-isolation, thank you. The website that we directed you to earlier and the comment from Heather earlier about the registration form, there is a what I'll call a self-declaration form. So if you are isolating outside of residence, there's a form you have to print off. I was just looking at it earlier today, and fill in the information of where you're staying, and you'll be asked to hand that over when you check in. And as Heather mentioned, you will be required to inform us how you are planning to self-isolate.
Thank you for that.
Back to Kristen, thanks.
Thank you for that clarification. I think that covers the majority of questions that are posted and published here. If I didn't have a chance to review your question this evening, please know that Allison and I from Recruitment and Admissions, we will be reviewing the transcript of all the questions that are being asked, and we'll be seeking out those answers for you to be able to clarify that and ensure you have an answer to your very important question. And again, this is the first phase of communication, and we do hope that you will engage with us either through virtual advising, through Together at Dow, or through a myriad of emails and other ways to connect as we move forward in the last several weeks before we kick off our fall 2020 September academic year. But I'd like to hand it back over to our Vice Provost, Student Affairs, Dr. Ivan Joseph, to really wrap up our conversation this evening and allow us to then follow up with you with any important questions that may be outstanding.
Thanks, Kristen. Thanks very much. Thanks for joining us, folks. Although my primary professional role is the Vice Provost Student Affairs here at Dalhousie University, I have a much more important role, which is a father of 3 students in university. And my son is heading off to university this fall, and I am asking many of the same questions that you're asking. And so I could feel the need to give you honest, transparent answers as best we can, recognizing that we're doing the best we can, and it's the information that we know today. I sensed a lot of, and I'm reading into this, but frustration about the isolation process and the protocols. Recognize that, I feel that we have a responsibility as citizens coming into this province and people coming to Dal to keep our community safe. Nova Scotia is as somebody that's new to Nova Scotia, they've taken a hard line and a very strong stance in protecting Nova Scotians. And it's one of the reasons that they were able to get to 0 COVID cases much sooner than the rest of the country. And Atlantic Canada is taking great pride in that. And that's our collective responsibility to maintain that. The university has to submit many of our practices to the public health officials for endorsement. And I'm not saying that as to a scapegoat as to why we're making the decisions that we're making, but just to recognize that the university is one part in this process as we move forward. But the most important thing I want you to hold on to is that this fall is one small part of your entire university experience. Our DSU president said it so well, is that we're enthusiastically waiting and excited for you to be here and to be a part of our Dow community. The next 4 or 5 years are going to be the time of your lives if you do one most critical and important fact, and that's put yourselves out there, engage in the activities and the opportunities that are here, and take the opportunity to connect and get outside of your comfort zone. University is not just about the academic experience in the classroom, it's about the whole experience inside and out. Welcome to Dalhousie University. We're so glad you're here. Back to you, Kristen.
We are so glad that you've chosen Dalhousie, and we are so glad that you are able to be with us this evening. And I do hope that we were able to clarify some of the processes and questions that you've raised. But knowing that there will be changes over the coming weeks, we commit to maintaining that communication with you. Please know that that through this remote format and through all of the programming that will be coming your way, we will be welcoming you with open arms, and we do hope that you're able to lean into that experience. Thank you so much for coming this evening, and we will be following up with you directly. So thank you so much. Take care.